Hey everyone, welcome back to the Comic Con Podcast, episode 39. I am one of your hosts for the evening, Justin, aka Nemesis Prime. Unfortunately, some bad news. The Manimal, Zach, is no longer part of the Comic Con Podcast. We had a falling out last week, so he will not be with us any longer. Nah, just kidding. So I got my friend here, Juan the Comic Goon. He is a returning co-host with me. I needed someone to help me with this week, and I figured, you know what, some things are coming up for New Jersey, so bring him aboard. Juan, say what's up to the good people out there.
What's going on, everyone? Hope everyone is doing well. Justin, thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to chit chat with you. You're a local guy. You know, we go to the same shows. We just saw each other 2 weeks ago. We attended the King Con show. We can touch base about that in a little bit. I know you were definitely there. I saw you had a quick little interview with the Principal Defects crew. So that was really awesome. Anybody who's out there listening to us, make sure you check us out on all the major podcast platforms: Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, and Anchor FM. If you're listening to us on the iTunes, make sure you leave us a 5-star review and give us some comments. You know, it helps us with the algorithm as well. So let's kind of get right into our community section. So here we have two people here that are going to listen to for the rest of the evening or day or morning, whenever you listen to us, that didn't go to New York Comic Con. So New York Comic Con, you're listening. We're taping this on October the 7th. It's currently going on this weekend. I did not go. Juan's not going. I know he's doing something else, which is pretty awesome. But, you know, here's my take on it. A lot of people have already asked me, and they've been sending me pictures, and I've seen videos of New York Comic Con. And I'll tell you, the showroom floor looks really empty.
Yeah.
From some of the vendors and a lot more people backing out. It's just something that I would have never thought that I would have missed. I've been going since 2008. I regret not going? Not really. You know, I had a blast at King Kong show 2 weeks ago. You know, a lot of these vendors who you're hoping to see there, a lot of the, big names like the DC Comics stuff, Marvel Comics, they're all backing out. Funko backed out. It's crazy. And someone like I know from Juan's point of view, he's going to tell us a bunch of things that why he's not going. But I'm just happy that I didn't really even have the money, to be honest. I spent way too much at King Kong, so from myself, I'll tell you the one bad thing is there's a lot of people that I know that went to New York Comic Con that I would have loved to meet up with that I have not had the pleasure of meeting in person, only doing like the YouTube and Instagram stuff. So there are definitely a few people that I wish I would have been able to meet up with, but there's always another con, there's always another year. So what about you, Juan? What's your take on this?
The thing with me, so I'm vaccinated, right? So I could have gone; it would have been no problem. But
Mhm.
I didn't want to go and miss out, all the big vendors that would be there, right? Marvel, DC, Funko, Midtown Comics pulled out,
Yep.
and even a lot of the artists who were going, a lot of the alley artists and writers, a lot of them pulled out as well, just due to COVID. So
That's what she said.
so for me, it wasn't something I really was excited about this year. And Comic
Mhm.
Con is huge for me, right? It's where I met my wife, is where I proposed to my wife. So
Yeah.
for us, it's a very special place to go to, but we felt it was going to lack that same energy that we were going to have. Um, Fortunately enough, there is another convention happening up in Pennsylvania. We're going to for the weekend. Too Many Games Expo, which is not so much a comic book theme convention. It's more a video game convention hosted by the people over at Cinemassacre and Screenwave Media. So we'll be up there for 2 days, and just like you said, there's always other cons around. And then I felt pretty good because we did go to the King Kong show, and we met tons of people in the community, and that in itself was a blast. So it wasn't like, all right, we're gonna miss out on seeing people we want to see. We've just saw them about 2 weeks ago. So it
Yeah.
wasn't, it was a mutual decision between us to say, all right, we'll skip this year. Hopefully next year they kind of get their act together and allow everyone to come.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. It's something that, and it was a hassle from what I was looking at. And, I still follow the Instagram account of New York Comic Con. It's just like, it was such a hassle to get everything done because you had to go to a certain place to, get your check in, I guess, basically, and get like a wristband and, you
Right.
know, someone like myself, I'm there super early on like Thursday morning. So if I didn't get that done, then you're spending more time taking care of that. And some people don't have that time, or even on a
Right.
Saturday. If you're just going on a Saturday with your family, out there, people listening, people that just take their sons, their daughters or something like that. It almost now is becoming like a huge inconvenience just to go to New York Comic Con.
Right. There's a lot of extra steps. I was just telling you before we went live, said, this is the first year. There's tickets for Thursday, there's tickets for Friday and Sunday. Saturday, of course, is always the big day. So I didn't expect there to be any tickets available. But even I think until a few weeks ago, they had another, hey, we're selling some more tickets. So
Yeah.
it goes to show not the attendance probably won't be as big as, back in maybe 2019 was or whatever. But yeah, it sucks, but hopefully, like I said, next year they get it together, we figure this thing out, and we can all go attend safely to New
Yeah.
York Comic Con.
Yeah. So, with that being said, you attended King Kong, the first show 2 weeks ago. What were your thoughts about it? I spoke about it last week on the podcast. People, obviously, I took some pictures. It was on our Instagram. But what did you think about the first time show here in Clark, New Jersey?
Oh, it was great. First of all, it's 10 minutes from the house, so even better, right?
Roll out of bed.
Roll out of bed. We went to the show. As soon as we got there, we just started seeing people. You see a lot of people in the community on Instagram, but now you're seeing them in person. And it was just like meeting up with an old friend, I would say. There was hugs, there was, how you're doing. People asking you, people coming in from far distance. I know Roger was there. I know Wonkers was there. Tons of people in the community that you've always kind of talked with but never got to meet up with in person. It was just a great show. I want to say there was tons of awesome deals there. Got to hang out with the New York Warriors, those guys I never really got to hang out with. They were awesome. Got to see Gary very briefly. His booth was super busy. I couldn't even get through. And it was just such a great show. It was very fun, and it's one of those shows that I hope continues to happen and grow. Maybe they'll get out of that hotel and get into an even bigger space, down the line. But it's definitely the show to go to. It's probably one of the best shows I've been to, in months, to be honest with you. And I've been to a couple, but King Kong was definitely a great show. And it was definitely a great time meeting up with everybody and chopping it up and getting to get some kind of normalcy again. So
Oh yeah,
I
absolutely.
really enjoyed it.
Yeah, because you and I, we go to like that Wayne show, we go to Clifton, we run into each other there, and now it's like the idea of being able to have a different type of show, especially a first time show where it's a lot of people from the community, was awesome, and that's what it was. Because you and I see the same guys that set up every month here in New Jersey at these shows. Like we know them, we make fun of them, we text each other. There's inside jokes between me and Juan. Certain
same
vendors.
guys with the same books that just don't sell, and
so it was really good, and I'm glad you were able to come out, and like, you're local like me, so it was perfect. I know you picked up some stuff and Jen picked up some stuff too. So that's really awesome. And since neither of us went to New York Comic Con, you have this Gamer Con this weekend, but next month, if anybody's in also the tri-state area, next month there's actually another pretty decent sized show here in New Jersey. It's called Super Jersey Comic Expo. It's on Saturday, November 6th. So it's the weekend after Halloween. It's going to be, it's down in Homedale, New Jersey, which is like exit, I want to say 117 or 116 off the Garden State Parkway.
Yep.
You actually have some decent people, decent names. You got Jim Shooter, Larry Hama, John Beatty are coming. And the reason why I bring that up is because you guys, Comic Book Fiend Club, you guys are going to be a vendor there, correct?
Yeah, so we're going to be vending there, but I also will be setting up and conducting interviews with hopefully most of the guests there. We're trying to get something going with Larry Hama. We're trying to get Shooter on there for just a conversation. But we're also going to be selling books. We're going to be selling books, and everything that's sold is going to be donated to Mission 22, which is a military charity for veterans. So when they come home, they're able to get support for things like PTSD and they're also very big on suicide prevention as well. So everything we sell that day is going to be donated to them. We've had a ton of people in the community send us books, graded books, things to be raffled, things to be sold. So I'm super appreciative of that. So that's what we'll be doing there. We'll be there set up. And it's our first time vending. Well, my first time vending too. Thankfully, I got a ton of help from some more experienced people than I.
So it's going to be a lot of East Coast members.
A lot of East Coast members. We're trying to get at least 10 or so people there, working on trying to get a representative from Mission 22 there as well to help with the cause. The guy who's one of the people who are running, his name is Paul Brown. And if you don't know, Paul had a very successful YouTube channel a few years ago called Comic Trips. Another New Jersey guy, traveled to different shops, bought comics, did hauls. And now, he's running this company called Culture Pop. And big things coming for that guy soon, but good guy, and very excited to be a part of this first show that they're having.
Awesome. And I know it's not sold out, so you could still get tickets. The website, it's superjerseyexpo.com. I'll definitely donate some stuff for you guys, whether if I see you before the show or I just drop it off that morning, because I'm definitely going to be there bright and early. So that definitely give back to the community. It's a great cause. So
Absolutely.
Again, it's Saturday, November 6th here in Homedale, New Jersey. If I have it, it's at the Super Jersey. It's at the events. It's at the Bellworks. The Bellworks in Homedale, New Jersey. It's only from 11 to 6. They do have VIPs, which open at 10, which I'll end up getting probably a VIP so I can get in there nice and early. But figured that's going to be another convention because Juan just told me right before we went live that some people were bagging out of Baltimore, and that's right around the corner, right? That's in 3 weeks.
Yeah, 3 weeks time, Baltimore Comic-Con. The Simonsons backed out. I know the big one is Frank Miller. He canceled 2 weeks, about 3 weeks before the show, just recently. So there's a lot of people, again, same situation, ticket holders that won't be getting refunds till after the show is over.
Ugh.
That's money that could easily be spent at the show, which is crazy to me that they wouldn't do that. So again, I get it. If you can't make it, you can't make it. But I feel sometimes you got to do right by the people too, right, that are coming to your show, and just give them back the refund for at least their I guess they sold like VIP tickets for signings and stuff like that.
But yeah, I know like the Frank Miller was a big draw. Brian K. Vaughan is a big draw right now. Over there because I remember he went in 2019. I missed him. Now, but do you have to be vaccinated or is it?
No, you have to just have you vaccinated, of course, and then you have to have a negative test, I believe. That's what it was.
It's basically like either or.
Yeah.
All right.
Which is again like great, right? Because just go get a COVID test and you're done.
But that's still sometimes that's even hard just to be able to have to go like before an event. Like sometimes you're busy, you're probably working, and then I guess it happens. I was supposed to go to a work event that weekend out in Vegas, but it got canceled. And I was really upset because I was looking forward to getting out to Vegas, and I was already looking at shops, when my work thing wasn't happening, like what I could do, like where could I go shopping? And I was going to hit up some people who I know that actually live in Vegas, possibly to meet up or, to have a drink or, hey, meet me at the shop, we'll catch up or something. So,
right.
Unfortunately, it got canceled. So, my wife even said, "Oh, are you going to go to Baltimore now?" And I was just like, "Well, that's actually," and it's also our anniversary weekend. And I was like, "Wow," you were like, "You kind of want me to go?" But I said, "No, I did the husband thing." I was like, "No." I was like, "It's our anniversary weekend." I was like, "I'd rather spend it with you than spend it more comicking," because I knowing that I was going to be going to this comic event in November here in New Jersey. So, that's talking about a little bit of our comic stuff. And one last thing I want to bring up in the community, and this is why we always do listen to the people that we have great conversations with and the people that actually listen to us. So our friend Comic Stash 416, he actually messaged me earlier this week about a pretty badass anime. I don't know if you've watched this one. It's on Netflix. It's called Trace.
Not yet, no.
Do you know about it?
Never heard of it.
Okay, so it's based on a 2005 graphic novel, anime, Japanese animation, and it was only season 1 was only 6 episodes. So it's basically like Supernatural meets Constantine in a way. It all takes part in the capital city in the Philippines, and it's really awesome because again, like it's very supernatural, so it's very underworld type creatures, but it's all from Filipino lore. So it's like all the different characters, like, and I actually had to look them up. Like, I can't say the names, but like, there's like this character that's like a mushroom looking character, and he's like creepy old looking. And there's like a Scimitar looking character, and each of the characters are something from from the Philippine lore that's really interesting, because when you read about it, you're like, oh, well, I know it from like this culture, but from this, it's like completely different. So
Right.
the main character, Alexandra Tracy, I like it because she's a girl, so it reminds me of Zatanna, really. And so she's got like these two bodyguards they have like magical abilities. They can kind of like fly, and they use guns. And it's really cool because they each have like this mask that they put on. One's like a happy mask, and then like a sad mask. And there's a lot of things that happen in the 6 episodes, and I binge watched it in like 2 days. So I want to give a shout out to Comics 416 for putting me onto it. I definitely am excited for them to actually check out a new season. Hopefully it gets picked up. It dropped on Netflix in early June, and I'm surprised I didn't know about it, because I always look at the anime stuff.
Right.
And it's really interesting because typically I don't really go off of my certain genres of anime. Like, I like the fantasy stuff, the mech
Right.
stuff, and samurai stuff. But you know what? I was like, he sent me a message. He's like, oh, you should really check this out. He said it has a good maintaining balance between like the living and the dead, and it's based on like the graphic novel and stuff like that. So I was like, you know what? I was like, I could try something different. Like 6 episodes, I can definitely do that, because most animes, are like 25 to like 50 episodes, like just for one season.
One season, yeah.
And you're like, I can't get into this. So six episodes. I definitely dug it. So I definitely recommend it. If you're
I'm gonna check it out as soon as we're done. Yeah, for sure.
It's a quick, 3 hours. You can bang it out in 3 hours. I watched the first 3 episodes one day, and then I watched the last three. So shout out to Comic Stash again. We always listening to people in the community, giving us some cool things. So moving on next to some articles that we have for the evening. It's funny, we always sometimes don't have articles throughout the week, and then man, Thursday just comes, and I'm so happy because so much news drops on a Thursday. So actually, this is one that I really wanted to get to, because this is probably the only channel that you'll ever hear this on. I want to actually retract something that Zach and myself said last week. So last week we talked about Jamila Jamil, who's going to be playing Titania in the She-Hulk series. Now, last week we talked about her posting a shot on her Instagram showing off her orange hair. And we talked about how it got a lot of buzz because, of course, Titania in the She-Hulk series and in Marvel Comics has the orange hair. But so that photo went viral. But she actually came out and said that it's not for a Marvel show, that the wig that she was wearing is not for a Marvel show. So we want to go back on record and saying that the article that we spoke about last week is untrue. So if you listen back on episode 38, we talked about this. That is not true. And you can still see that photo on Jamila Jamil's Instagram. So that's something that you don't really hear from other YouTube channels
not
or
at all.
Podcasts. Like, when do they retract stuff like that?
Or news sites, Daniel.
Oh my God, exactly. So Juan, why don't you kick us off with our first article of the evening?
So like you said, Thursday, for some reason, news just drops nonstop. So today it was announced that Disney is working on a Agatha Harkness spin-off show. No idea if this is going to be a prequel to, the events of WandaVision, or something that's going to happen maybe after multiverse of what's it called? Multiverse of Madness. Yeah. So no idea. I will say I really enjoyed Catherine Hahn as Agatha. I thought she was great. I thought she was the standout character in that show. And I'm really looking forward to see what they do with her and where she goes from here, right? Because in the comics, she's kind of not the bad guy. She's kind of, she ends up being a babysitter for the Fantastic Four. So I'm very, very curious to see where they go from here with her. What do you think?
Yeah, what I'd like to see, and typically with these Marvel shows, they're about 8 episodes. I would like to see, if it's not all like post Multiverse of Madness, I'd like to see maybe like the first half be, like you said, maybe like a prequel leading up to the WandaVision show, and then the last 4 episodes kind of being after. Or maybe you get a little bit of that mix where it's always moving forward, but we get snippets of like how she became and where she was prior to WandaVision, and then during WandaVision, you get very little because we know about it, but that would be
Right.
really interesting.
You
So
did see just a little bit of, her story, but definitely would be great to kind of delve a little bit more into that for sure.
yeah, maybe like who's kind of like put her on that track of into the WandaVision, into the town, how
Right.
she got the dark hold, little things like that would be really interesting. And then again, moving forward, maybe introducing some more magic users into the MCU.
Oh
So
yeah, for sure. I know Brother Voodoo was a big one that a lot of people were kind of looking forward to being introduced, and then maybe in the Multiverse of Madness, we don't know, but I'd be interested to see what kind of characters will end up being on her show for sure.
yeah, definitely. Maybe that could open up the door to Strange Academy.
Mm,
Down the road, we could possibly get some of that. So that'd be interesting as well.
heck yeah.
So great article, definitely on a Thursday. We love that. That was something that possibly, and Kevin Feige recently. I did read that Kevin Feige was recently at an event, and he said there are a lot of movies that or shows that are in development that they have not talked about at all, and it was at an overseas event, and he said that it's time for an Asian or um, Japanese, Chinese characters to come. So, a lot of people are thinking that new Agents of Atlas team,
Mm.
um, and this could be another show that he, in the background was talking about. So, Agatha Harkness, hey, we definitely need nice villains. I would love to see a villain show that's, other than Loki. you know.
Right. Exactly.
So definitely a great article here on a Thursday. So moving on to another article. So we've talked about this in the past. Jake Gyllenhaal is all over the place now with with movies in these comic books. So this is over at the Hollywood Reporter. Jake Gyllenhaal and director Sam Hargrave are going to team up for Studio 8's Prophet. And we all know Prophet is a 90s comic that Rob Liefeld created. Yes, that Rob Liefeld who cannot draw feet. But of course, the filmmaker from The Extraction, and of course Jake Gyllenhaal, who's not only going to be in Oblivion Song, but is going to be in this. So he's going to be in two independent movies, which is really awesome. Uh, the Jake Gyllenhaal will, of course, play the character John Prophet, who is a man constructed by Germans near the end of the World War II and subjected to scientific experiments that give him superpower strength. Hargrave will direct the film, which he say is based, of course, on Liefeld's comics. Mark Guggenheim, who is the going to be penning the script, of course. Mark is great because he was the original creator of CW's The Arrowverse, so that's really awesome. Of course, in John Prophet's story, it's set in World War II. He ends up, going through these experiments. He gets ended up buried for 20 years, comes back in 1965, has all these powers, has issues with his daughter. He doesn't know how to move on, and then there's issues with the KGB. So we're definitely, I could definitely get behind this. It sounds interesting. I never read it. Growing up in the 90s, surprisingly, I never read this series. I read a lot of the Valiant Image stuff that was in the 90s realm, but for whatever reason Prophet just wasn't one of the books that I was reading. But what about you, Juan? What do you think about this?
Uh, so Jake is an awesome actor. I don't know if you've seen The Guilty yet on Netflix.
No, I have not,
Phenomenal,
but it's on my list.
freaking great movie, man. So I'm kind of glad. I think he's just a great, phenomenal actor. I've never read Prophet as well. I did read Image when I was younger, but I kind of yeah, I've read like My Spawn. I've read like Darkness,
Mm-hmm.
but never picked up Prophet. I'm gonna definitely read a few issues now just to kind of get familiar with the story, see if it's something I definitely want to watch. If it's something that Rob Liefeld wrote, I'm glad someone else is coming in to pen the script.
Yeah, you don't want
So
him touching that.
yeah, don't let him touch it. But I think Jake Gyllenhaal is just a really great actor, and if anybody can bring something like that to life, I think he's going to do a really really good job playing that role, playing that character. So I'm looking forward to it. I definitely will watch it for sure.
I think it's definitely gonna be underrated. I feel like that Oblivion Song, even I don't did you watch Old Guard on Netflix?
I did,
With
yes.
Charlize, yeah, I feel like that went under the radar because of the pandemic, but that was a great movie. And I
It
think
was very good.
these movies could be really good because So the way Rob Liefeld describes Prophet is he always said he was an anti-Captain America. So it's always something that we wanted. I mean, we kind of got that with U.S. Agent in the Falcon Winter Soldier show, but now that we're going to have a character that's straight mainstream, main character that we're going to be, backing and watching the entire movie. And, ladies love looking at Jake Gyllenhaal. So I think, I think you could force the wife or girlfriend to come and watch this movie. So, but I definitely am going to check out, like you said, that Guilty. It's on my watch list. I just haven't got a chance to check that out.
Yeah, it's great. You'll like it.
Nice, nice. So we don't have any other comic book articles today, but a recent trailer just popped up on YouTube today, which we definitely need to talk about. Both Juan and myself are huge fans of this series. I have been playing this video game since it came out way back in the 90s, and we are talking about Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City coming out of nowhere in like a month. We get a trailer today and we get the movie coming out at the end of November. I think that's amazing. So the trailer just dropped. Synopsis, of course, it's set in 1998, which is during the first Resident Evil. And it's really interesting because it looks like it spans both the first Resident Evil game and the second one, kind of going back and forth. So let's get your take on this one, and then I'll jump in on it.
I am so excited for this film. As a kid, I remember my uncle saying, "Hey, I got this new game. You want to play?" I'm like, "Sure." What kind of game is it? Oh, you just fight zombies or whatever. When you're younger, like zombies, whatever. So I start playing it. You go into the mansion, you split up, and you see that first scene when the zombie just turns around and looks at you. I remember just dropping the remote. I was like, "No, no, thanks," and I left. I literally had goosebumps when I saw that. This, not a lot of movies that are based off of video games are very accurate or faithful to the source material.
Mm-hmm.
But watching the clips in this trailer, I was very, very excited. And I'm like, they're hitting this on the head so far. Like you said, I'm very curious to see how. I know in the games, they had the Raccoon City incident and then you had the Manor incident. I don't know if those two things are going to necessarily happen at the same time. I have no idea. But like I said, I'm very curious to see how they go back and forth between the mansion and Raccoon City. But I'm pretty excited. They have a lot of great effects there, horror effects there. The zombies looks great. So nothing too cheap. So I'm very, very
dark.
invested. Yeah.
It's very dark. It's rated R, which is awesome, and I like how they're not it doesn't have a new created character like Alice. And then obviously the movie itself is always revolving around Alice. Here you're getting the characters from the video game. And it's a star-studded cast for people who, if you watch the trailer, a lot of these people. You have, Claire Redfield's in there, Chris is in there. And it was really interesting when I was watching the trailer, and now that I'm looking on IMDb, the guy who plays Chris Redfield, Robbie Amell, who is Stephen Amell's cousin or brother. He was he was Firestorm in the CW on Legends, but I thought he was Leon Kennedy because, that interaction in Resident Evil 2 is always Leon and Claire. But, you have Hannah Kamen, who plays Jill Valentine, and we know her from Ant-Man. She played what's her name?
The
From
Ghost?
Ant-Man. Yes, Ghost. Yeah, she played Ava and Ghost. You have Neil McDonough, who's been in multiple CW shows. He was in the original Captain America movie. He plays William Burton, and I can see him exactly as William Burton. And
same.
There's the other character who this really threw me off. Tom Hopper. If anybody has watched Umbrella Academy, he plays number 1, I think, or 5. He's the big guy.
Yeah.
He's playing Albert Wesker. Now I can see him as because as good as he is in Umbrella Academy as like a good guy, I can see him acting really good and then immediately kind of turning into that bad Albert Wesker that we know from like the Resident Evil series, putting on the glasses, being that dark character.
Oh yeah, when he was like, I think we should split up. As I mean, just entering the mansion, I'm like, yes, they got
Yeah.
this. They're hitting this on the head. I think, a lot of times when people make movies, they make movies for everyone. I think
Mhm.
here they're making the movie for those fans that are faithful to this series, that started such a long time ago, right? Survivor horror is supposed to be a genre where you're not supposed to just run around and shoot everything. It's, you had to conserve your weapons, you had to solve puzzles. So I definitely am excited that, not only this is a horror movie, but it looks like they're also being very true to the source material. And I'm pretty excited. I might actually go to the movies to see this before watching on Netflix for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna go see this first weekend of launch. And there's subtle little things like you said, yeah, like and you said it before. They have that immediate scene where the first time you see a zombie in the Resident Evil movie, they have that scene perfect. When you first walk in, that's that Spencer mansion. They literally have that corridor of you walk in and you see the big giant staircase straight ahead, and then there's the doors on the side. Like all that stuff is gonna happen in this movie, and they even and I've watched when I first watched it, I didn't notice it, and then the second time I watched it, and this is really more for people who know the lore of the Resident Evils, but there's a part where you see Claire pushing over some stuff, and you see one of those old school, like, 40 millimeter reel tapes, and
Yeah.
on the thing on the tape, it says, the Ashford twins, and that's all
Yeah.
about Alexa and Alexandra Ashford, who were part of like pre Resident Evil One. Like it goes into like Resident Evil Veronica, but it's also pre T virus, and there's just so much like little Easter eggs, even in the trailer, that I was like picking up, and I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to watch this movie because I feel like I said before, it's not based on a brand new character who they're going to have to revolve around. Each of these characters are main characters in any Resident Evil game between Claire, Chris, Leon, Jill. Like they're all in it. So any one of these can be in the next reboot. Like they said, this is a
Right.
reboot of the movies or a reboot of the series. So maybe if it does well and then they have a second movie, it doesn't have to involve all of them. Like you could have again just like Jill or just Chris and Claire.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure. It'll branch off into different, everybody doing their own thing. Code Veronica, by the way, one of the best Resident Evil titles, period,
mhm.
ever, for sure. I think that I remember when they first announced, they were showing a lot of the set photos, and then you see kind of that truck in the opening segment of the game where they end up splitting up.
Oh yeah, Resident
Um,
Evil 2. Yep, the big gas truck. Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, when's the last time you've seen a video game movie that was this true to the source material? You haven't. You really
Yeah.
haven't.
It looks super good. So, Resident Evil again, Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City is coming out on November 24th. Super excited to see this in the Spencer Mansion. I feel like the trailer, I think they're going to start in Raccoon City and then they're going to go to the Spencer Mansion. That's my guess, but or it could be things are happening at the same time and different with different people. So, we'll have to see in November.
Yeah, for sure. I can't wait.
So that's really it for the evening. We really don't have any other articles to bring to you guys, but of course, we love ending on a comic book note. So, what are we currently reading for anybody who's new out there listening to episode 39? What are we currently reading is always something that, whether it's an old title, new title, and for this month, for Halloween month, October, Zach and I decided that, we're going to be picking titles that are either in the horror or scary genre. So for myself this week, I figured, actually, Juan, why don't you go first because you're the guest. I'm sure you don't have you may not have a horror title, but let's see what are you currently reading?
So I've been reading The Sixth Gun, which is a fantasy western. It's written by Colin Bunn, and the art was done by Brian Hurt. So basically, this is a western slash horror kind of comic book series where there are six guns. Each gun has a specific power, and there's people trying to find these six guns in order to recreate the world and start over. The guns were pretty much made by in the Devil's Workshop. There's a lot of monsters in this book. There's a lot of spiritual kind of connotations to this book. Um, and then it's just it was so good. It reminded me of like Outlaw Josie Wales meets like Hellboy, because there was so much paranormal in this book. Um, and it's just a great story overall. I definitely suggest, if you haven't read it, go read it. I picked it up on Comixology, have unlimited, so that's how I read the series. But it's very, very fun. It's interesting, to say the
Hmm.
least, and I think a lot of people would truly enjoy it if you're into books like Hellboy and stuff like that.
All right. Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna have to add that to my who's it what publisher?
It was, I want to say it was Oni Press.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Oni Press. It came out back in like 2010. It ran for like 50 issues, but it's
Okay.
it's really, really a fun read.
And is it just one series, or have they ever done like limited series or mini series based?
No, that was it. It's just
Just
one.
that.
I
All
think
right.
like 1 through 50, and that was it. Ends on 50, but it's the whole way through. It was a lot of interesting plots and
Hmm.
turns, and a lot of good character building. So definitely check it out if you're listening to this, or if you have listened, checked, read it. Let
Hmm.
Justin know.
Okay. All right. Definitely have to give that a try. I always like those type of like fantasy. That's like when they have those like samurai uh animes or comics where
Mhm.
they create like a sword or something like that, and there's a few of them, and everyone's out to get like the best swords, or that's really interesting that there's the different guns. I'm definitely gonna have to check that out. I never knew about that. For shit, if it's 11 years out and I didn't hear about this one, and Colin Bunn's a great writer, so I definitely want to check that out for sure.
Absolutely.
um so moving on to my stuff. So again, I've been picking Halloween type theme books. So for this week, I have two books. My first book is actually the latest Transformers Halloween special, which they've never done before. A really interesting read. I know not a lot of people out there are reading the Transformers stuff, but I figured I'd give it a go this week. The Transformers special was really interesting. It's one story. It's drawn out between Starscream and this alien that he meets. They end up switching bodies in a way, but there's this whole horror aspect that's part of it. That's kind of one of my titles that I wanted to speak about this week. But the other one that I really thought was extremely funny. So anybody who's familiar with of Are You Afraid of the Dark? DC Comics put out a DC Comics one shot called Are You Afraid of Darkseid? And it's very interesting because the beginning of each story is told through the tale of the Teen Titans. So the Teen Titans are around the campfire, and of course, they're each trying to scare each other with different stories. So there's about it's worth it's I think it was like an $8.99 or $9.99 price point, but there is about 8 or 9 stories in there. I don't want to go through all of them, but I'll tell you uh, two or three of my favorite ones. The first one has Harley Quinn and Darkseid fighting this creepy, scary monster. Of course, the name of the storyline, it's called Bloody Mary. So if anyone knows the story of Bloody Mary, the creature, there's that. And then one that I found really interesting was Batman and the Mad Hatter. It's almost like you ever you ever have that scenario where maybe you're driving and you feel like someone's always following you? Like there's always a car
Yeah.
behind you that's following you. So basically, don't want to get too much into it, but Batman's chasing after Mad Hatter, and he always has this. There's always this like Mack truck behind them, and it's always like behind Batman in the Batmobile, and he's always wondering like, what is this? Is this someone trying to go after him? But I kind of want to leave it at that. And then last but not least, one of my other favorite stories in this involved Wonder Woman and Vixen, and that's the team up that you really never see. You
No,
never
not at all.
see Vixen and Wonder Woman, and they basically they meet up in where Vixen's from, out in the Mojave Desert, out in Africa, and they go to this village with these kids, and some things happen with these kids, and I'll kind of leave it at that. So if you end up going out there. Like I said, there's about 9 stories in this DC one shot called "Are You Afraid of Darkseid?" Uh, it's probably not an expensive or a high printed run book, but you know what? For the month of October, maybe if you get it, read it to your kids, or you just want to read something horror from DC because they typically, don't put out too much horror, and especially these little one shots for their main characters, and they're all written by a lot of new writers and artists, so it's not like you're gonna get like a Scott Snyder in there, James Tynion writing these, so they're all really interesting. So that are my picks of the week for what are we currently reading. That's it for us here at the Comic-Con podcast. Again, I want to thank Juan the Comic Goon for jumping in this week since Zach is not here. Juan, why don't you tell everybody out there where they can find you, all your social media, where you're going to be, any closing words?
Yeah, you guys can find me at the Comic Goon on Instagram. Also, check out my YouTube channel, The Comic Goon, as well. And then check out my new podcast, Mondo and the Goon, which me and my boy CJ, we have a podcast that pretty much covers a lot of pop culture, it's not just comic books and video games, but some horror and movies and things like that. So that'll be coming back soon. So yeah, check us out and throw us a sub and a like on our video. And
Definitely.
yeah, make sure to follow the Comic Book Fiend Club as well too. We have a ton of different raffles going on for different charities. This year we're raffling off a Kevin Eastman. He did a sketch cover over at Torpedo Comics, and we're raffling that off for charity. So check that out as well.
Nice. And of course, if anybody's in the tri-state area next month on November the 6th, make sure you stop at the Super Comic Jersey Expo. Juan will be there, set up with the Comic Book Fiend Club crew. Say what's up. Hey, and if you want to donate comics to them, like he said, everything that they sell is going to charity. So I will definitely be giving Juan. That's probably when the next time I'll see you. If not before then, I'll definitely drop off some books. But that is episode 39 is in the books. That's it, everybody. Catch everyone next week. Peace out.
Peace.